All right. So some interesting stuff here, guys. So yeah, make the Myomancer. Using your intuition, looking for the signs, right? This is all about reading the signs, whatever they may be, right? And this, he's the Myomancer. He watches the movements of mice in order to kind of predict the future, see what's going on in the world, right? So however that might mean for you, but kind of looking out for the clues, the signs, right? And that's what you're doing. And I feel like you're doing that in this decision. I feel like there's something that you're needing to do, right? This right here is really standing out to me. That there's this conflict, right, with the stag. What is the right thing to do? The enemy of Ra, facing your enemy. And your enemy, you could very well be, right, having to go back into your cave, right? Because your action is frustrated here. But yeah, I feel like you feel a sense of responsibility. There's a sacrifice that you may be needing to make, right? With the blasted oak, the hanged man, these sacrificed animals here. Yeah, and this is about love, right? We have Oset and Osar, Isis and Osiris. And she brings him back from the dead, right? There's this masculine, feminine, dark, light, right? We're really doing this balancing act, even here. And the king of vessels showed up, and now the queen of vessels, and she's a salmon, right? The salmon move, upstream. Some of them lose their lives. They sacrifice a lot in order to bring forth, to mate, spawn new salmon. And we see her, this is the offspring of Set and Osiris here. So, whether this is love, a family, whether this is a dream, whether this is, your personal journey, right, with the hooded man. This is that, no matter what it is, there is this balancing act going on, this inner process, right? In the cave, the hooded man, he's going into this tree here. And this is the hanged man as well. At any rate, there's thinking going on. There's looking for signs. There's a sense of fate, right? Are you in the boat, or are you controlling it? Now, the past, we have the Three of Bows, fulfillment. And this is getting to a point on the journey, right? We see this split in the path, which is another reason I feel like there is a decision, right? And I feel like you've come to this fork in the road, right? Do you take this path that moves downward, right? It's probably a little bit easier, or this one. I feel like you've been here, right? It's kind of going back down into the village, perhaps. Or are we moving up towards the mountain? And he's got a bow here. And we see the bow here and here. Now, for those who watched the intro, the Sabian symbol for this full moon in Gemini, this full moon eclipse, I forgot to mention. We see the moon here as well. is, an archer with a whole quiver of arrows. So this is interesting. I've been looking at this. I've got a whole story here. But okay, first of all, so yeah, I wanted to go here because I remembered as I was looking at these cards that the positioning of his hands, right? Here she's got her hands kind of like crossing each other, and here they're facing each other like a fist, right? And they're both holding like these up. And of course, this is a decision that's being made, right? This is the arrow, right? Okay. I hadn't quite got there yet. At any rate, and this is, this card is based off of Ma'at from Egyptian mythology, I suppose. At any rate, so his positioning in this card is judgment. Hers is resurrection. So, there's this decision making happening. And I feel like, with Osar, we'll say, this is you making the judgment. There's sacrifice that's being called for. And you're not sure about it, right? The blasted oak, hanged man, and the tower. As you're doing this, right, with this, moon, I feel like you're definitely going inwards. You're definitely doing some meditation on this. And there's a calmness about it. There's a healing about it. The moon tops the stew of arrows, which makes me feel like there's healing in this. And in that, you really, it's like there is this moment, and this is the Uranus opposite Venus and Scorpio. Right? This is like a breakthrough moment regarding this. I feel like it's a soulmate connection. I really, we've been seeing it. Here it is again. So you get that, I almost want to, some kind of revelation with this sitting beside Osar, and this, it's like, it's bigger than just the aha moment. It's a revelation. All right? Because here below, in the below, we have the counterpart. The counterpart. And I feel like it's almost one and the same, right? You're feminine, right? You're being more masculine here. This is the feminine. The feminine actually resurrects the masculine. I just read this bird here, this wren. So I guess this was the Druids sacrificed these wrens every year. They were a sacred bird. The sacrifice keeps on coming up. And, he's looking at this bird. Here we have these sacrificed cows. We have, and I feel like this is part of the, the trouble here about what to do, right? Lorelei, she really does kind of like present a decision-making moment to me. The stag does as well here. Not always, but here I do see that, and even though this is the Three of Bows, we see two paths. We see two staffs here. Two here, two here. And eventually you do come to one. But I think this is not an easy decision for you. There's something that has to be sacrificed for this connection, I feel. Or for those who, aren't, which, I feel pretty strongly, but it might be that some are watching and it's not so. This is like your baby, your creation. You're having to sacrifice something to bring it about. And this could be as simple as, if you are on a spiritual quest, right? If you are going into your cave, facing your demons, facing your shadow self, this might be like 3 days of fasting, a day of silence, all right? Search yourself. Ask Spirit. Look for the signs, right? That's how I started doing my fasting. Was I got the prompting from Spirit. So you'll know if that resonates for you. And then once you do that, you come out of your cave, right? The dawn of a new day. For some, I almost feel like there's this sense of, is it safe yet? Is it safe to come out yet? This can be seen as like, fire, right? We're kind of retreating from the conflict in the world. There is, he holds the Ankh here. Wisdom, right? Seth isn't all bad. Yes, he's the enemy of Haru and Osiris. He kills Osiris. That's, We've got the murderer and the resurrector here. These cards kill me, I swear. But this Kekiut here. She is about persevering, all right? There is, this is about leaving the past behind, keeping your eye on the future, right? I look at this star here, keeping your eye on the future, keeping your eye on the prize, persisting. There is hope. There is, and I hate using that word, hope. There is the promise of a new day. Right. So this first week, I feel like there is a whole lot of contemplation, a whole lot of going inwards. This is how we find peace, though, right? Amidst all the confusion, right? Going into the cave. I just got a message, that the death, right? The death, the resurrection, that is how you are resurrected, right? By going into the cave, by going inwards, right? That's where the healing happens. That's where we get the revelation. And judgment is rebirth, right? And this is the sacrifice. It's amazing. But yeah, this is your air element. And this is definitely, there's something to be birthed here, right? I'm guessing you can see the egg in the water. But this, I get drawn to Ma'at, and she weighed the contents of your heart against a feather, right? That truth, that integrity, right? I feel like there's this message of doing the right thing, and I guess that is where the conflict arises, right? I feel like you're not sure what the right thing is, right? Since there is this sacrifice, what are we having to sacrifice, right? What is the right thing? And I'm not, I think we're still not great. I think we get a revelation here. And I think this is, about how to bring everything back into harmony, right? And you are back into harmony, and this is the emotions, right? But in the action, we have this 5 of arrows. And I was talking about the quiver of arrows, right? That we're given this quiver of arrows. And we see this goat here, which makes me think of Capricorn. And all of those, those 3 planets, they're getting to, we have Saturn and Jupiter getting ready to leave Capricorn. But in those final degrees of Capricorn, it's like that intensity there, it's more intense, that Capricorn energy, that feeling of restriction. So the answer here is, patience, right? Looking for the right time, looking for the signs, right? Knowing when to let the arrow go, and like I said, I feel like you're sending them off too far, too fast, right? We have to make sure they're precise, which means start small, right? Small steps will lead, have much better success. Now, this is also about shifting your thoughts, right? When we're frustrated, when things aren't going like we want them to, when things aren't going the way we want them to, and we keep going in spite of being frustrated, we're just getting the same results, right? We need to take a step back, right? Retreat. Go back into the cave and come back out once we're calm, once we've had that shift, which leads us to victory and to the breath of life, right? This one arrow, this one sure shot that births something new into life. The truth that we can carry with us, carry forward. All right. We just want to take another quick look. Yeah, I mean, like both ways, we see this moment is pivotal, right? We're inward. We get the revelation. We start shooting arrows, right? It's too fast. It's too fast. We have to retreat and kind of get our bearings, right? Get grounded. Yes, this grounding right here. Because when we have a moment like this, it's like, and it feels great and we want to go, but until we're grounded, it's not going to work, right? And that's the clue here too, right? The Capricorn. We got to ground ourselves. And then this way, the unknown, not knowing what to do, but going inwards. Revelation, reunion, a return to feelings, happy feelings,